Hi everybody, Mike with BeeResQ. We're going to install a nuke quickly, and we're also going to do a mite wash using alcohol. An alcohol mite wash is a little bit unpleasant to some folks because it does involve killing some bees, but we'll walk through the installation of this. Lots of nectar coming in, that's natural nectar in the frames. You can see it's shiny. And what I like to do is I like to put the nukes in the order that they're into the new hive, right? So we'll go from side to side just to kind of herd the queen to the middle. And these frames, by the way, are older frames, and they'll get phased out as you do your beekeeping over time. So you'll see different quality and types of frames. This is kind of cool. There's no plastic ones in here, but I don't mind a few plastic frames once in a while, but in general I like to avoid single-use plastics. But as I do the installation, I like to just look them over. This is a brood frame. We have all different types and sizes of brood, ranging from eggs all the way through larvae. So I'm going to look it over, see if we have a queen on there. We can see this has some honey and some larvae. Right, let me flip it over to get you some more of the eggs and larva view.
And the yellow is palm.
You see some of the little white marks. It looks like little macaroni noodles. Those are older larvae. The ones that look like a human hair root that are standing up straight, those are eggs, if you see some of those as you zoom in. All right. I don't see a queen on this frame, do you?
No, I don't.
All right, so we're going to take this one and set it with a little bit of extra space for now.
Now, why is it you don't like the plastic? Is the bees don't take to it as well?
That's not why. It's actually, when they're on deep frames like this, they are a little bit flimsy to me.
I see.
Yeah, but the bees will draw out wax on them, no problem. There we go. There's another frame. All right. And there's our queen. Let me know when you see her. Roughly in the middle. There she is. Excellent. All right, since we know where she is, we can go ahead and put her kind of in here and protect her a little bit.
Okay.
And since we're going to do a mite wash, just to teach people how to do mite washes, I'm going to leave extra room here, and we'll do that off of this frame of brood. So, let me walk you through my mite wash kit. We've got alcohol. If you ever want to see what a queen cage looks like, if you ever have to reintroduce a queen or introduce a new queen, this is what the queens come in with, a little candy inside there as a plug and attendants. In fact, this is a queen that didn't make it through the shipping process that's in there. So, but it's called the JZBZ Queen cage. But this is a mite wash kit my buddy Matt helped me make. I really like it better than some of the ones you buy. But the idea is getting this screen in the bottom that'll hold the bees when we go to wash them. And then I recycle some of my alcohol with that. So, you want to take a look, and you can maybe snapshot this later, and you can see nice and clean, no mites, right? And when we look in a little while, we're going to put a half cup of bees in here and shake them, and we'll see how many mites are in the bottom after we do that. Okay? So, I'll go ahead and put this back together. Get our alcohol ready. Since we're doing this on video, I'm going to get a fresh bottle of alcohol. Just another little shake.
What's the accuracy difference between this and doing the sugar method?
If you shake vigorously enough, like to the point of killing the bees, they're almost the same accuracy.
Okay.
If you shake very gently with the sugar roll, it's not as accurate. Okay. I'll kind of talk through what happens here. So we've got a nice frame of brood. These have all gone through the cold snap we just had and have recovered nicely. They've already started hatching and relaying, so the queen's doing a nice job. She's an accepted, mated laying queen when we provide these nukes. I'm just going to give it a little shake. And the nurse bees are going to kind of hang out a little more, and the foragers that are a little bit older, they're the ones that are taking flight just right away. May even be a few guard bees, but in general it's kind of a new nuke. So there we go, and we only need a half cup of bees to do this wash.
Okay.
So I just want to point that out to everybody, even though we're going to kill some bees here. In the grand scheme of things, a queen may lay 1,500 to 2,500 eggs a day. So very, very few bees that are going to get killed here. We'll just kind of scoop them up, right? Get a half cup, take that, shake it in there, put our lid on there just to keep them in for a minute. All right, we'll take the rest of these girls. It's their lucky day. We'll get them in there. We can start reassembling that in a minute. All right, let's kill some bees. This is the sad part. So let's see, I think this one's open. Maybe not. All right, we shake them down a little bit. Then we're gonna pour the alcohol quickly around the edges. We want just enough in there to cover the bees during the alcohol wash. All right. We're going to take and swish it around for about 30 to 45 seconds. So I don't know, you can speed this up in post or something.
Okay.
But it's kind of tough to watch sometimes. You know, new beekeepers a little squeamish about this, but most commercial beekeepers, this is how they're going to wash to get a higher, more accurate mite count. It's
Now,
also
when you get a new, about how many bees are in when you first install them?
10 to 30,000, I'm guessing.
And then when the hive's fully grown, like my other hive here, and they're starting to produce honey, how much does the population go up?
It'll double 2 or 3 times, like every time there's a big hatch. So it's kind of interesting to watch that growth, as you've seen in the other one. This will hatch and double in strength in about 4 to 10 days, and it'll continue doing so as they build out the comb. So eventually they'll continue drawing out frames here. They'll be ready for a super, and away we go. All right. So what do you think? Has it been about 30 seconds,
Yep.
45, something like that? Well, let's come out here where we can get a little better light with the camera, because we're going to look from the bottom. One trick that we use sometimes, and I didn't do this today, I probably should have, is you can actually pour this through a coffee filter or a paper towel, and sometimes it's a little easier to see. All right, and you always want to be extra careful. You don't want to wash the queen. So, all right, so I'm going to look first. There shouldn't be very many because it's a brand new nuke. And it's easy to mistake bee parts for mites. So I'm going to have you look straight in for a second, just with a little white background. You'll see there's some particulates. Some look like mites, some are questionable because they're a little bigger.
They look like maybe legs from the bees.
Yeah. And now let's shoot from the bottom. See how much easier it is to see?
Yeah.
How many do you count? 2? 2? Yeah. That's what I got. Kind of one off to the right and one towards the middle.
Right.
So there you go.
Awesome.
2 mites, which is fine. You'd like to see 0, but
Now, when you see 2 mites, what does that equate to for the hive? I mean, when's there a time we have to say, okay, we need to treat now? It's important.
so if I see, let's say it's 6 or more, this time of year you'd want a low mite count either way, but 6 or more is what I go for. And you know, all beekeepers will have kind of their own rule of thumb, what they prefer to do. But that's mine. I just shoot for under, you know, well, let's see. It's 2, 4, so that'd be 4% right now,
Okay.
and it's 6% and higher is what I would treat with. Now we could, because you know, you and I have access to other technology. We could actually treat these things with supers on, without using chemicals.
Right.
With another methodology that we'll explore in another video. But in most cases, we'd wait till after honey harvest.
Now, what is the term hygienic bee? What does that mean?
Hygienic is just kind of like we refer to it as humans, but in this case, we refer to hygienic behavior as grooming, and they'll groom mites off.
Okay.
And so when we talk about this particular type of bee, we call it Minnesota hygienic. It's bred for northern hardiness and also hygienic tendencies. And that way we know that in general they're going to groom themselves and take reasonably good care of themselves.
Because I noticed when I took the tray out of the first flow hive, I was kind of concerned because I saw quite a few mites.
Yeah.
But then when I put the magnifying glass under, really started looking at them, and they weren't alive. They were all dead. They'd been chewed. You can see how the bees have killed them.
Yeah. That kind of an ankle biter tendency, you know, as the bees are grooming, then they kind of bite the legs. That's what we want to see. You know, the better the bees can take care of themselves, the better it is for all of us. And eventually, they'll probably develop a little more resistance. So that's good. That's what we want.
Now,
That's one reason I really like this type of bee also.
is it true that the mites actually like the drones better?
Yeah, the mites, they do most of their breeding in under the cap brood and drone brood in particular. So doing brood breaks and pulling out drones. Drone brood can help reduce mite load. One of the problems is you're also reducing the genetic material available to the colony and other colonies when you're destroying those drones. So when you think about genetics, there's the queen. Everybody talks about the queen. They tend to forget the drones. And a queen, when she goes on a mating flight, is going to mate with 15 to 50 drones
From other hives.
colonies,
Right.
and potentially from hers as well. There may be 50 or 100, who knows how many different genetic variations just in one colony. And so it's a very complex thing, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
So, all right, what do you think? Shall we put the rest of the frames in and close
Yep,
this one up?
That sounds good.
All right.
Later on, I'll install the feeder.
Yeah. Have we talked about bee space on any of your videos before?
No.
So very important to maintain bee space. The bees don't always just automatically do the right thing. And we're using a foundationless frame here, which is interesting and fun. But they can build burr comb or cross comb or wonky comb. And so we have to manage them. And what we want to do to make the frames easier to manipulate is we want to have the frames as close together as possible. Now you can see there's propolis between these two frames.
Right.
So they've been spread apart either for a queen cell or something, you know, on either side of that. If they were pushed together, scraped and then pushed together, it'd make it easier to move the frames around as needed. So we want them tight to the center, and any burr comb they build will be on the sides, and the more likely place to find your queen is in the middle.
Are you going to put that 10th one in? Or?
Let's see, is this a 10 frame?
Yeah.
All right. 8 framers seem to have a little extra space in them sometimes, so don't always put them all in there. Huh.
I think that one, because of the burr comb, is too wide.
Could be. Let me see if I can clean it up a little bit here. That's a tight one. I installed a couple of 8-frame flow hives, so I wasn't sure where we were on this one. So
Yeah, they have actually have 3 different. They have a 6, 8, and 10.
6 frame. That'd be interesting.
That's like for educational purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
But this being my first season, I was really amazed on how quickly they draw out comb.
Yeah.
It was 4 weeks, and the other flow hive had probably 4 or 3 of the 5 100% filled out.
Yeah.
The 4th one was like 75%, and they had just started on that one, and that's just 4 weeks.
Yeah. It's always amazing. You know, one of the things a lot of new beekeepers struggle with is getting enough drawn comb. And drawn comb is very, very valuable. It takes a lot of work and a lot of resources for the bees to make it. So, even more valuable than honey to a getting started beekeeper is drawn comb. And when there's an abundance, an overwhelming abundance of resources, they can draw out an entire 10-frame hive in no time flat. So it's really interesting to watch them do it. When you catch a swarm, it's also amazing. They'll go from nothing, or a resource that they've been carrying around with them, to filling out an entire hive in a matter of a few days as well.
Wow.
So they're a lot of fun, and they just do so much. It's just, you can see something different every day.
Until I started reading and watching videos and talking to people, bees were always, you know, I got stung bad by wasps when I was a kid, so bees have always made me nervous. But now it's like, I mean, I'm here with my bare hands, I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's almost calming and therapeutic, isn't it?
yeah. I'll sit out here with a glass of wine in the chair and just watch the bees do their stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now there will be times, of course, like all of us, you know, when they're a little too cranky to do that. But they usually let you know. They bounce off you a few times and give you a fair warning. But any colony of bees should be managed in a way that's safe, right? I always recommend having at least a veil on, particularly if there's younger folks around, to try to be a good example. It's one of the reasons, even though I could probably install these on a day like today without a veil, I won't do that. It's very, very rare that you'll see me work a hive or a colony of hives, unless it's just kind of a fluke demonstrating their behavior during a flow, you know. Then sometimes I'll do it just because it's fun. I mean, it's just to be able to do so. But you've got to handle the bees very carefully, move very slowly. I'm moving a little slower than I would ordinarily go, just because we're videotaping here. But it's a lot of fun to be able to work bees without a veil. So let's see if we got enough room here to get that 10th frame in there. Since we know the queen's in that general area, I'm moving extra slow.
There's your 10th space.
Ta-da. Squeeze that thing in there. There we go. Ta-da.
Awesome.
So, that's a perfect demonstration, by the way, of why maintaining bee space is important, right? So instead of having it propolized now, the next time we go to work on these, if we keep them tight together, we won't have that challenge, will we? Nice.
Excellent.
What do you think? Ready to put the lid on?
Yeah, we're going to put the
All
top
right.
board on. And
Where's our board? Here we go. There you go, ladies.
this,
Just like
this
that?
side goes on this side.
Okay. Turn it around. There we go.
You don't have to worry about the screws, so I'll come back later and put sugar on.
Perfect. I like what you've done to decorate them too.
Well, what I did was, I've been hearing that they are visual.
Yeah.
So we've got the fox hive over here and the sun hive over here. And it helps us with tracking,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But there's that the bird comb that you left there. It was big, and they take
Yeah.
a little bit away. The neat thing about these hives, you were talking about wonky comb. It took me probably an hour to level these up, because you got to adjust the feet. They have to be level left or right, and have a 2% angle towards the back. Because you see the notch in that board with there's a level built into it.
Okay.
And then when you harvest, you come over here, and this comes off, turns into a shelf, and with those chambers, they have to be set up so the honey flows to the back.
Gotcha.
And that's why it's so important. It's kind of difficult to get them leveled up, but after that, it's a breeze. Well, Mike, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Appreciate
my
you
pleasure.
coming over today, and we'll see you next video.
All right, take care.